guys, in today's video I'm going to give you some practical tips and tricks for treating closed comedones, commonly known as whiteheads. I have a few other videos touching on closed comedones and going over them, so check those out. But to review, a closed comedone is a white to skin colored bump that is under the surface of the skin. It represents a plugged up, blocked pore or hair follicle, and most often happens as a result of a combination of things. Maybe the products that you're using are too heavy and too occlusive, and the skin cells are not able to turn over and get out of the pore, and therefore the pore becomes plugged. Not only the skincare products, but I think more commonly a lot of hair care products that have heavy oils in them are really a culprit in terms of closed comedones. These often result in closed comedones on the forehead, the sides of the face, and have to do with different hair care products, pomades, etc. And then another common issue leading to closed comedones is merely your genetics. Some people have a genetic tendency towards stickiness in their skin cells, and they're more likely to have plugged up pores and closed comedones as a result. And the other thing that can lead to closed comedones is cosmetics or makeup. I have a video talking about makeup ingredients that break you out, but some of the most common makeup ingredients that cause issue for people are going to be products that contain red or yellow dyes. And if the product is really heavy and a long wear formulation, that too can be contributing to your closed comedones. So think of all of those things in your skin and hair care routines and try and eliminate anything that may be contributory as a first step to treating the comedonal acne. Second tip though, or what you should know, is that closed comedones, they're commonly referred to as whiteheads, but to clarify, they are not the little pustule bumps. So sometimes you'll see something with a little pus on it, and some people call that whitehead. But a closed comedone, what in dermatology we also will refer to as a whitehead, is not that. It's not a little pus bump. In other words, it's not something that you would be able to squeeze or pop, nor should you. I mean, you shouldn't try and squeeze or pop any skin lesion, but in particular closed comedones. And the reason is that they're under the surface of the skin. That's where they start. And, if you try and manipulate them, that's going to aggravate them, cause a lot of inflammation to come into the skin, and can cause that closed comedone or whitehead to then go on to form an inflammatory acne papule that will scar and leave you with a scar. And you don't want that, and it becomes more noticeable and more problematic, and the irritation and inflammation that you cause leads to breakouts in the neighboring skin on the rest of your face. So resist the urge to squeeze or pop anything on your face, but in particular closed comedones, because they're not amenable to any kind of extraction, and you can really set yourself up for a lot of problems doing so. The other contributing factor, which you're not going to necessarily have any control over, but maybe something to be aware of, is the fact that hormones do play a role in the formation of closed comedones. Specifically in women, throughout the month, fluctuations in hormones, namely progesterone and testosterone, can result in increased output of sebum or oil, and that can set you up for plugging of the pores and comedonal acne. And for some people, getting on an oral birth control pill, which isn't something you can do at home, but some people find that their acne will improve on certain oral birth control pills, and that is a common prescribed treatment for acne, including comedonal acne. It can help. Now, let's get into actual over-the-counter acne treatments that you can try that can be helpful for controlling comedonal acne. A few practical tips and tricks and strategies. Number one is to choose one active ingredient to pursue and kind of ignore the rest. The reason for this is that active ingredients for acne treatment can be very irritating and drying and peeling, and when you start combining them, you can set yourself up for a lot more irritation. And so I find that a real problem that people run into in the beginning in trying to manage their closed comedones is that they try and use too many active ingredients all at once, and that sets them up for failure. So choose one ingredient, and I'll get into those ingredients in a moment. So choose one ingredient. That's not to say that down the road multiple ingredients would not be useful to you, but for doing this, you know, yourself, I would say just stick to one ingredient and keep it really simple and give it time. A lot of people bail after a few days, and they don't understand that acne is a skin disease that takes several weeks to months to really get good ongoing control of with the active ingredient. All right, so choose one ingredient, and then you have a decision to make about the vehicle that you're going to pursue for the active ingredient. By vehicle, I just mean the type of form that the active ingredient is in. There are leave-on products, there are masks, and there are washes. Leave-on products are, just as they are described, things that you put on to a targeted area of the skin and leave on, usually overnight, particularly in the case of acne treatments. That's usually when these leave-on products are pursued, at nighttime. The second vehicle is going to be a mask. A lot of active ingredients are formulated in kind of a mask vehicle. And the reason for this is to try and use the active ingredient in a short contact time that you then wash off after anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the instructions. So that is another way to pursue these. And you know, the nice thing about doing it that way is that you can kind of begin to introduce the active ingredient, derive some of the benefits, but you reduce the irritation that comes along with the ingredients by having a shorter contact time. It may take longer for this to work, and it's kind of a lot to keep up with, actually. If you have to do a mask on a nightly basis, people tend to not be super compliant with that. So I don't find masks to be particularly useful. And you have to be really careful in the mask that you choose that it doesn't have added fragrance, which a lot of over-the-counter masks do, like the Glam Glow masks, for example. They have good active ingredients in them for acne and for comedones, but they also have a lot of fragrance and irritating ingredients. So the masks are an option, but they really can not necessarily be as helpful as a leave-on product. Or the third type would be a wash. Now, a wash form kind of gets you at the nicety of a short contact time to reduce irritation, and also takes advantage of that active ingredient. And there, I find over the counter you can find more acne treatment washes that are fragrance-free, and I'll get into those in a moment. I get questions about how useful active ingredients are in wash forms. Honestly, it varies with the active ingredients. Those that I'll mention in a moment for treating closed comedones are effective in wash forms. And the reason they're effective is because they are oil soluble and they dissolve in the oily surfaces of your skin. So by lathering them onto your face in a lathering wash, letting it sit on the skin for a few minutes and then rinsing it off, that allows the active ingredient to get into those oily surfaces and begin to go to work on the closed comedones. And then by rinsing it off, you reduce the burden of irritation from those active ingredients. It won't get you control as quickly as a leave-on product, but it will do so with less irritation. So that may be the route that you want to go, a wash form. All right, so I've talked about the different vehicles. And then next I'll talk about the active ingredients. And they're nothing new. They're nothing that I haven't already talked about in other videos before. Again, to reiterate, choose one. Don't go for all of these all at once. And so the first active ingredient is going to be salicylic acid. This has such a long-standing track record of efficacy and utility in acne. Comedonal acne, inflammatory acne. It is a wonderful ingredient as part of an acne skincare routine and regimen for treating acne. It is an over-the-counter acne treatment that will dissolve in the oily surfaces of the skin, help to exfoliate those plugged up pores, help in controlling some of the bacteria that can contribute to acne and closed comedones, and also will help if you have any post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation related to healing acne. It will help to turn that over. It's a really good ingredient, and it is available in leave-on forms as well as wash forms. I'm going to list down below some of my favorite salicylic acid-based products, but I wanted to share with you guys a new to me salicylic acid cleanser that I've tried out for you guys to see how I like it, and it's really good. It's by this brand, the Inky List, and you can get this at Sephora. It's a It's a salicylic acid wash. It's just very basic and effective. So I recommend this, or my other favorite salicylic acid face wash is the Zap Zit face wash that you can get at like Walmart. It's pretty inexpensive. So those are both great options. So that's the salicylic acid wash. As far as salicylic acid leave-on products, one of my favorites is the Paula's Choice BHA toner. You can just wipe it on with a cotton pad to the affected area at nighttime before bed, leave it on overnight, and that will allow for the salicylic acid to go to work. And that product is fragrance-free and cruelty-free. I also have several other salicylic acid leave-on products that I really like a lot. But moving on to the second ingredient. The second ingredient is benzoyl peroxide. Benzoyl peroxide is, like salicylic acid, very good at concentrating in the oily surfaces of the skin, unclogging pores. It helps to control bacteria that contribute to acne, and it also can be anti-inflammatory. But in comparison to salicylic acid, benzoyl peroxide is a heck of a lot more irritating, drying, and peeling. And it does bleach fabric. So if you use a benzoyl peroxide leave-on product and then you go to bed, I recommend putting a towel down on top of your pillowcase so that you don't bleach your pillowcases. So it's kind of it's more of a nuisance to use, and personally my preference is to use it in a wash form in the shower. So my favorite benzoyl peroxide containing wash is going to be the Panoxyl Creamy Benzoyl Peroxide Wash. That being said, the different line from Galderma is coming out with, at the time of filming this video at least, it isn't out yet, but it's coming out with a similar fragrance-free benzoyl peroxide creamy wash that might be a good choice as well. I just haven't tried it out because it's not out yet, but stay tuned for that. That may be another alternative. But there are some good leave-on benzoyl peroxide products over the counter, and the leave-on forms will be more irritating, but will help to get you that control a little bit faster than just using the wash form. One of my favorite over-the-counter benzoyl peroxide leave-on products is actually the La Roche-Posay Effaclar Duo. This product has 5.5% benzoyl peroxide and is formulated alongside La Roche-Posay's proprietary LHA, which is basically a form of salicylic acid that is modified to be a little bit more precise in the exfoliation. It's only found in L'Oreal products, La Roche-Posay, for example. So this is a combination product, so it may be a little more irritating to some of you, but I personally find that this is formulated, the overall vehicle of this is very gentle and effective. So I really like this product a lot. All right, so I talked about salicylic acid and benzoyl peroxide. Those two are great ingredients, but unfortunately they're more irritating and drying and tend to be harder to tolerate for many people. Also, both salicylic acid and benzoyl peroxide are technically contraindicated during pregnancy, so they're not safe during pregnancy. And you want to talk to your GYN about that at length, because some GYNs will say it's okay and they'll look at the formulation and be okay with it. But as a general rule of thumb, they're contraindicated in pregnancy. So talk to your GYN. Likewise, breastfeeding, talk to your healthcare provider. But an ingredient that is definitely safe during pregnancy and is a go-to is going to be azelaic acid. Azelaic acid is a really good ingredient for hyperpigmentation, but it also is comedolytic, meaning it'll break up those closed comedones, impart some acne control. It's also very good for sensitive skin. So it's a good treatment for people with rosacea. People with rosacea tolerate azelaic acid. It is available in a prescription product here in the States. If you live in Australia, you can get it over the counter as Asclear, and in other countries throughout the world it is sold over the counter. I really wish we could get the prescription strength over the counter here in the US. I think that'd be fantastic. But we do have some over the counter options. They're just not as strong as the prescription. Yeah, so I have a video talking about over-the-counter azelaic acid products, but a favorite of mine is the Paula's Choice 10% Azelaic Acid Booster. This product has licorice root in it, which is anti-inflammatory and can be helpful for redness. It also has salicylic acid in it though, which is great for addressing closed comedones, but if you are pregnant, this would not be a good one for you. I will list down below in the description box an over-the-counter azelaic acid that doesn't have anything else in it that would be a more appropriate in the setting of pregnancy. But this one is great. It's pretty affordable and it's cruelty-free. So those are some of my favorite leave-on products. I have several and I'll list them all down below, and I'll head each section with what the active ingredient is. And then the last ingredient to consider, which is not safe in pregnancy or is contraindicated in pregnancy, is going to be an over-the-counter retinoid, namely Adapalene. Adapalene not only can help in clearing up existing closed comedones, but with consistent use, it can help to normalize some of the biology of skin cell turnover and help reduce formation of closed comedones down the road. So if you're somebody in particular who has a genetic tendency to have more sticky skin cells that plug up the pore more readily, this would be an option to consider that is available over the counter and is very effective in the treatment of acne. I have several videos on Adapalene, so check those out for my tips and tricks on how to use it. It is used at nighttime. Again, like the rest of these active ingredients, it's a good time to use them. So, I mentioned brand name Differin by Galderma that you can get over the counter, and I've also reviewed the La Roche-Posay Adapalene, Effaclar Adapalene treatment for you guys. They're essentially the same product, and I think they retail for more or less the same price. So really good to consider, but again, not going to be safe in pregnancy. And if you have rosacea or really sensitive skin, you just may find that it's too hard to tolerate. That being said, Adapalene is one of the least irritating retinoids, which is why it is available now in the US over the counter. It's one of the easiest ones to tolerate, as opposed to prescription tretinoin or prescription tazarotene, for example. But like I said at the start of the video, try to not go overboard and combine a bunch of different ingredients and try and do all this all at once. Choose one active ingredient and one form of the active ingredient, and so long as it's not excessively irritating, stick with it for at least 3 months before considering adding other active ingredients. I like products such as many of those that I've mentioned in today's video that include a couple of different active ingredients in one vehicle. I find that A, makes it easier for you, the consumer, to use and to comply with. It's much easier to put one thing on than 10 or 12. And it also reduces the irritation risk that can come about as a result of using multiple actives in different formulations. I find that if you can get a product like the Paula's Choice Azelaic Acid Booster, for example, it tends to go better for the user than trying to buy an azelaic acid product and a salicylic acid product and trying to combine them together and figure out how to use them together. I find that the combination products are a better choice. The other option, down the road, after say 3 months, if you do want to introduce another active ingredient, is to consider you can either alternate the active ingredients on different nights, for example, or different days. They don't necessarily have to be used daily. They just have to be used consistently. A few nights a week, often is enough. So you may want to alternate days in terms of which active ingredient you're using on which day. So for example, you could do salicylic acid leave-on every other night, and on the off nights you could do benzoyl peroxide, if you're tolerating that, if that's not excessively irritating. The other option is to alternate the choose a leave-on active ingredient for nighttime and then choose a wash form in the morning. So you use the leave-on product overnight, and then in the morning you do a wash form of another active ingredient with a short contact time and then rinse it off. That's a really good way to combine different active ingredients to minimize the likelihood of excessive irritation, and you still get that added control on board. So those are my tips and tricks for closed comedones. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.